As Alistair said to me the other day, he said, "Mom, you know, people are going to wonder why, after 50 years, you felt that it was so important to reissue this book and to fix it up. Like, what would motivate you?" All I can say is that it wasn't a success on its first go-round, and there were many and numerous reasons, I guess, why not. But basically, it just didn't catch the public eye, and didn't go anywhere. And all I can say about why I decided to do it was that, as strange as it may seem, the fact that it hadn't succeeded has stayed with me all these years, and I wanted to make it right, but I really didn't know how to achieve that. I mean, I wasn't prepared to have cartons of paper books on my front porch and try and sell them the way Georgie had tried to sell them back in 1967. It just didn't seem to be productive. So I got kind of stuck on that. And the data, of course, that was in them was now, in some cases, quite out of date, and it would need a lot of rejuvenation and editing to make it work. And again, you know, what would I do with it after that? So anyway, nothing happened, but I did think about it. But looking back at the 1960s, when Georgie was interested in doing this book, it's important to realize that, in actual fact, right from the outset, she knew that writing this book would be a very difficult task. That people that she talked to were very forthright that, number one, writing a biography of someone who is still alive is an extremely difficult thing to do, and a very, very difficult thing to market, because anyone who is interested in the person themselves wants the complete story. And of course, you're not going to get the complete story if they are still alive and on front page challenge and you know, doing the things that Grandma was doing. That basically, in order for it to be a success, the hero, the center of the story, has to be below ground. And so that was not the case. But even in the face of all that evidence, she was not to be deterred, and she was going to write this. On the other side, we had McClelland and Stewart, who were the top dogs in their day in publishing in Canada, were prepared to take a chance on her. She was a first-time author to publish, and that they would do it for a price, and they would take a chance, basically, on her. The volume came out in 1967, and in the process of dealing with her manuscript, it was greatly edited. There were no photographs included. Well, it was a ratty little thing, is what it was. And of course, and she had the cartons of books on her front porch, and there it was. They were not in the marketing business. It was, you know, basically a vanity press production, I think, as far as they were concerned. And there it remained. So anyway, but they had greatly reduced the copy in the book, and that was a real thorn in the side of the family, who felt that it should have been unabridged. So a few years later, our dad reprinted the entire manuscript, and in softcover, that was what I used as my basic text. It was less costly in price, and you had more for your money, and that would be a good thing. But in any event, it was a very, very lackluster reception of the book, even at that. And you know, and the book itself was published by the Alaska Highway News, and our dad, who was at the time running the newspaper and putting out a 16 to 20 page paper every week, took this on as an additional project, which was a mammoth task in itself, to become a book publisher when you're in the newspaper business. But he did it. The resulting volume was fine, but it didn't shine. It was very slow. Anyway, in 2001, I was sorting donations at St. Vincent de Paul in Vancouver, and what should be at the bottom of one of the bags but that volume right there, the softcover one. And here there was Georgie's lovely handwriting on the flyleaf of where she dedicated it to somebody. And I thought to myself, geez, you know, somebody actually did buy a copy of this thing. I was quite choked. And I looked, and again, the withered pages, and you know, here it was, and there it was. So I took it home. I mean, we couldn't sell it; the pages were falling out. So I took it home. And but the solution came to me in 2014 when I saw a biography of Florence Nightingale. A copyright by Cecil Woodham Smith had written it, and it was a definitive biography of Florence Nightingale, long out of print, and it was on the internet as a free download. And I thought to myself, my God, that is what I could do, is to digitize the book and give it away. And if people would read biographies of Florence Nightingale, then this is what I could do. So there would be no boxes, no cartons, no money, nothing. And so anyhow, so the first thing I did was I phoned my brother Ted, who is good with computers, Ted is, and I just put it to him straight. I said, Teddy, and you remember Teddy, don't you? I said, this is what I'm thinking, and if I did this, would you help me with the IT? Would you help me make it a digital edition? And you said, sure, without a minute's hesitation. And so we did a deal. We had the answer, and so that was basically what happened. So it was, and working my way through the text, I have to tell you, it was a two-year job. Now, mind you, we sold our house and moved to smaller quarters in the middle of it, so it wasn't like 2 continuous years, but it was quite a bit of work. But you know, here was Georgie back in the early 60s, headquartered in a skid shack at the back of their property in Fort St. John. And she had a wood stove to keep the place heated, bound copies of the newspapers back to 1912, interviews with Margaret, her mum, and she produced it using a Smith Corona, beast of a typewriter, huge thing, manual, just whacking away. And 6 years later, it took her 6 years to do it, the completed manuscript. Now this will really make you smile. She bundled up in an old Eaton's dress box and mailed it off to McClelland and Stewart in Toronto. And that was it. And then the book came back, and there it is on the table. And so, you know, by comparison, for me, the ebook production was very much of a team effort. I mean, my brother Dan suggested the Wikipedia links that I would never have thought of, and it really saved a lot of writing and a lot of explanation for things that were common knowledge in the 1960s and are no longer. And so that was important. And Frances, our hostess tonight, gave me the direction for stitching together the old and the new, because now that the story had ended and Conrad Black had purchased Dad's paper, and that was, you know, very significant for us, then how was I going to make that work? And so she suggested the epilogues, so that was where I took it. And Ted did yeoman service. I mean, there's no question. It transformed those withered pages into a workable format, digitized all the photos, and then created all these magic things called links where you can click on it and it comes down on your iPad. And I mean, it's just wonderful and simple when it's done right. So there it is. So now, after 50 years, you guys, we are ready for our toast. And so, gentlemen, would you come forward and open the bottles? Yeah. Oh, lovely. Oh, what a lovely sound. And let us raise our glasses and toast our departed author, and in the firm knowledge that if she had had the technology available to her in those days and had Ted at her beck and call like I did, this is the book that she would have produced. Yay. So, to Georgie, with love. Thank you.